Hey, it's the Chief bonding with board games and RPGs. We are live with yet another episode of us using Knave, Ben Milton's game, as we are mid-action. So first, real quick, we've got Jay in. Jay's going to be running battery. Hey, Jay.
Good morning.
And I'm going to bring in, we've got Never Fear 1911 saying we are live. And I know, Jay, you even had a little story about reminded you of 1911. If you wanted it, now that he can hear us, if you wanted to share that.
Absolutely. Hey, Never Fear, based on your username, one of my friends sent me instead of it being Happy Valentine's Day, he wanted to remind me that on February 14th, 1911. John Moses Browning patented the Colt 1911. And so that instead of celebrating Valentine's Day, we should be celebrating Happy John Moses Browning Day or Happy 1911 Day.
Woo, happy 1911. And instead of your Battery's Cougar, what again for everybody is the name of your cute little pooch?
So this is, we've got two dogs. This one is Midge. We didn't get to name her. We adopted her. She just turned 2 last month. She just had breakfast, so she is a happy dog. And she's half long-haired Chihuahua, half Jack Russell.
Ooh, lots of energy. Cool. And okay. I may have to mute myself on occasion. Some of you know I'd come down with the flu. Everybody's kind of catching it. Jay had it 4 weeks ago?
I did. That's the session I missed. Hey, thank you, Never Fear.
And then I had it in between sessions, and I feel great, but I'm at this terrible stage where you can still hear a little bit of the congestion, and if I start to cough, nobody wants to hear that, and I will mute and probably go off screen a little bit. Hopefully, but it just seems to pop up every now and then, so that's my warning. So let's catch us up on where we're at. We had gone deep into these caverns to actually get the Diamond of Zanupta, which we did. We succeeded. Graveworm, who looks like a little wild kid, but all we know is he's not. Actually, our PCs don't know that at all. We ended up finding a key slot, which tied all the way back to the first episode, and we unlocked a cell door for what is a 1 foot tall little granite golem named Petricula. What was very interesting is our goal was to get out of the caverns, and he let it be known that, nope, we are going with him down deeper into the bowels of these caverns. We took a quick little short route, like a slide, and genius Ormond, we had this vent tube that was full of what must have been some kind of natural gas. He lit it on fire. It dropped into the cavern, and I don't even have that cavern photo. There it is. Let me share the screen real quick, and we will get this up in here. Let me get into this. We will share this. Let me grab it, and boom. All right, we can see we dropped into this exact vantage point. We came out of the tube. All of this, you can see the runes on the floor. This portal to hell was being opened. We actually had 80 some, I can't remember exactly, was it 81? 81 cultists were doing a process to bring the succubus through. Luckily, due to Ormond dropping the fireballs came in as well. And there was complete and utter chaos. Fast forwarding a little bit, Petricula starts to run towards very close to where you see the runes on the floor, closer to the portal. He is going to destroy this pyramid of 10 sub-priests, all in this mixture of white robes with red marbled lines through them. And we have the head priest in red robes. They're doing a cultish procedure to bring the succubus through this portal to hell. We do have a danger. The Petricula, although he seemed almost impenetrable to most things normal, they have these 75% chance they have these daggers that can cut stone, and he's down to only 11 health points. At that point, he'll start taking damage to like his limbs and cracking off. Battery from this raised position is using his arrows to help clear a path. He sent his cougar with Petricula. Ormond, played by Never Fear, 1911, has cast some spells. Please go see the last episode for the details, but we've slowed down the process. My character Milo, cast some spells, same thing. We have 4 rounds to get down and disrupt this. Meanwhile, Gravedigger is pulling defense on this dais, this raised level that we're on, because some of the cultists burnt on fire are responding, and they're coming in to try to get at us as well. Never Fear. He has a cough as well. Thank you. I should be able to suffer through it. It'll catch at different times. Never Fear. I know you're ready. We are going to start this action with Petricula's turn. We knew that he needed part of his turn. Oh, did I say Gravedigger? Grave Worm. Sorry, Grave Worm. And I mentioned I rewatched our last episode just to catch me up. And I will do dumb things always. So I had a 20-sided die and I said a 10-sided die. I will try to show them so you may see me say something stupid. And hopefully either Jay or Never Fear will correct. Both are very good about saying, oh, no, we're doing this. Or Never Fear will say, hey, that's a random event. And great, keeps me on track. But let's open this action. Let me bring this down. Petricula is going to do his move action, which puts him, he can move those 30 feet, and it puts him at the base of those 10 sub-cultists that are assisting the head priest in this procedure. Petricula, having arrived at the base of these, we've already established from our prior combat with cultists that he can take 3 of them. There are 10. We're still going to roll and see what kind of damage he does to them, but because they're otherwise occupied, Batre has cleared the way. The cougar is coming as well, but Batre will be controlling him. These guys are not in a position to defend themselves, especially on this first hit. I think there's at least a +5 to this, and we know that as he came in with his strength, trying to look, I believe it was a +3 on his strength, so I'm going to roll a 20-sided die for this attack. I'll roll for 3 of them just to see, but he comes in and just is hammering. He uses his head. He'll come in and kick. Let me see what Never Fear has. Not all of the cultists are going to stick around and fight till the end. Most of them are fleeing. Some of them are on fire. Jay covered that these guys have no idea what stop, drop, and roll is. Their cloaks or whatever, their vestments have caught on fire. It is utter chaos. The scene we have is much more controlled. Ormond, that fireball thing that basically when you threw your torch down that natural gas vent caught a lot of these guys on fire. And we do know that these main sub-cult alterns and the primary priest are very much occupied in trying to bring the succubus through this portal to hell. So they are definitely distracted. Real quick, I think he's going to make quick work of these first 3 cultists, but let me roll the 20-sided. We have a 17. That with his +3 and the 5 is going to give him a special move as well. Anytime you get over 21, you're going to have a special move. We're going to move these down to, there's 9. Never Fear, I'll pull your comment up. Let me see what the next one is. Ooh, so on the second one, he got a 4. And so 5, taking a 9, 10, 11. All he needs to get is up to 11 on these guys. These guys are not armored. They don't have any defense. That'll move us down to 8. Oh, and another 17. So we're going to have, they're down to just 7. But we have 2 special moves here. Let me pull up. These maneuvers can be, you can make up your own as well based on a situation, but disarming, pushing, stunning, blinding, breaking of gear, tripping, or anything plausible for the particular situation. We're going to have two of those. Let me get to Never Fear's comment. I'm talking about the cultists who are near the primary priest, not the ones that are already fleeing. Got it. They are all focused. We've talked about before. They're all kind of like the primary priest is in these red robes. He's on a dais, so he's raised up a little bit. The other 10 priests are almost in like a circle around him, but because they're all leaning forward, and I picture them putting their hands, they're fully outreached, and they're putting their hands upon the primary to combine their skills to keep this portal to hell open. The runes on the ground were also part of this whole cultish demonic procedure. Petrocula had been destroying and dragging his granite feet across these, which gave us the extra round. We have 4 rounds to basically close this portal, or the succubus comes through. So they are very much focused. Can they pull off of what they're doing to help the priest? I'm sure they can. But their focus is definitely not on what we are doing. We do know from the last round that they must have somehow put out some kind of order or whatever to these little cultists that are running around, because some of them are trying to scale this vantage point, this ledge that we're on, to stop us. But Battery's been cleared a path with his arrows for Petrocula, and the Cougar was assisting. So real quick, Jay, 1911. I've got 2, or not me, but Petrocula ended up with 2 special like maneuvers he can do as he waded in. He's dropped 3 of these guys. We know from his prior combat that he headbutted a cultist in the head, basically just pink mist. He will hit legs, and just because he's granite, shatter them. So 3 of these guys have just been like knocked crazily out. They are no longer with us, and he's waded into this crowd. We can think upon it. We know he's got 2 special maneuvers, and they can be anything that's particular. Jay, do you have any idea what these maneuvers could be?
So I would say I'm doing something that a human being couldn't because of his special makeup and anatomy.
Okay.
I would see him trying to either roll or fire himself like a round through this formation, because I really think his primary function is to stop this summoning.
Yes, I agree, because Grave Worm was trying to lead our group up and out even after we freed Petrocula, and we found out his first angry action was he kind of backhanded Grave Worm and did damage to him. I mean, he wasn't even trying to, but he was like, no, we're going down. So clearly you're right. He is here to stop this demonic action. And what was so surprising to him is some of these blades, these stone cutters, it's almost like it opens up a lava wound in him, and it was hurting him terribly to the point he's down to 11 HP. So I like it. He might have a stone rolling action that he can almost bull into these guys. He may be able to launch himself like a projectile. I love both of those. Here's Never Fear.
I love what Never Fear's saying. Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Perfect. All right. So he rolls into a boulder and tries to knock more guys down like a bowling ball, crushing them in the process. I love it. Let's even, since he got 2 successes, maybe as he was getting close, he went into that. And the very first 3 he hit, we know those have basically been killed. He went into that ball rolling action. The first 3 he struck, they're gone. And I guess kind of like pins in a bowling alley, these other ones may be knocked down, stunned. They could be killed. Never Fear, I love your idea. And I know Jay doesn't have his dice because he's in the process of getting his office back, so I may roll for him as well. But Never Fear, we know we're down to 7 more. Since we have 2 specials and we have the rolling going, I'm thinking a 6-sided die, and because we had 2 specials, not saying it's killing these guys, but it's going to probably knock them away from the dais. Never fear. Why don't you give me a single 6-sided die roll for the first special, and that'll be the number of other cultists that aren't killed, but they're knocked down, kind of like pins in a bowling alley. Oh, here we go. You got a 2. So 2 of them, and I'll roll for Jay on the next one. So we are down to, they're still there, but I'm going to make a little side note. 2 of this action where Petrocula rolls into the action, 3 are dead outright. 2 have been knocked to the ground, so they're in a knockdown status. And then I'm going to roll a 6-sided die for Jay here. Let's see what this is. 2. So 2 is the number. We end up with 4. 4 have been knocked down, leaving there's 3 that are still up there with their hands on the primary priest. But we know that there are 4 laying on the ground. When it becomes their turn, they will have to succeed in regaining their feet before they can start to attack Petrocula. Jay, and never fear, that was genius. I can picture this rolling action, and clearly with them being a very serious danger with their blades, him rolling in and knocking some of them cattywampus is great. All right, let's see. Jay, why don't we roll to you? You're in control of both the Cougar and of Battery. So you let me know how you want to take your actions for this round.
So I want the Cougar to be backing up and capitalizing on the actions of Petrocula.
Right.
And like I said, I intend to be on sniper mode, taking taking advantage of any openings and clear shot that I've got, because I'm under the impression that if we don't stop this summoning, we are dead.
Yeah, I think we could be. If this succubus comes through, she'll see us as part of the offering, and spot on. We are kind of on our last legs here spell-wise. We're on our last legs survival-wise. Petrocula is near death as well, so that's a good point. So I love the idea. Let's go to your Cougar. We know the Cougar was following Petrocula in. I guess the question is the Cougar pouncing on some of these 4 that have been knocked to the ground, or is he jumping into these other 3 in the high priest that are still standing?
I want him to jump into the high priest. Normally I'd jump on the downed opponents, but I think this is put up or shut up time.
Got it. All right. So the Cougar, spotting that high priest as the focal point, is moving for him. Never fear. Why don't we have you roll for Jay? Jay doesn't have a 20-sided. And Jay, since we have the complete distraction of these guys, that's been the best thing going for us, is it's not like they're able to defend themselves. They are fully focused on this demonic cultish procedure they're doing. So I think the Cougar is going to have a +5 on this. We have never really statted out the Cougar, which is fine. We've got to know that the strength and just the Cougar, are you picturing that his, like that agility, that attack action, maybe a +2, or what do you think he has as far as his attack value?
So because the Cougar's undead, I picture it as stronger than it was, but not as agile as it once was. And so I think a +1 or a +2, I'll defer to you because I'm not as good with the system yet.
Yep. All right, I'm letting never fear. You'll end up rolling a 20-sided die roll. I just wanted to get our stats. You're going to have a +5 for the advantage. In Knave, it's always pluses, 5s, -5s, going up 5, 10. I think 5 is sufficient. And I, as I was talking here, did you say you think a +3 on this attack for the undead Cougar, Jay?
Yeah, I think it's more of its unnatural strength and its ability to launch itself at them.
Got it. All right. So never fear. He had an 11 with the +5. We're going to throw in that other +3, which is the Cougar's attribute. The +5 covered the fact that they're literally just standing there, not moving, They're not in a defensive mode. They're fully focused on this ritual, this cultish ritual. So add another +3 to that. That would take us up to 14, which is a strike. It is a hit on this cultist. And we already know from what the Cougar's done in the past, he tends to do what Cougars do. It's his weight, it's his bite, and it's his takedown. So his ability to grab up and hit this primary priest and drag him off of this raised dais. What's interesting is I think that's going to waken up these sub-priests, because now they're going to have to go into like a full, probably more of an attack mode as well, because they're no longer just putting hands on him. Now I think they're turning to the Petricula and to the Cougar, probably the focus on the Cougar, since he's got his mouth around that primary priest. So when we come back to these last 3 subaltern priests, these cultists, they're going to be attacking the Cougar, those 3. But 14, yes. All right, got it. So the Cougar's ripped the lead priest off the dais, has him in his jaws, and he's got him pinned down to the ground, and he's doing some damage to him. This priest is not a hardy soul, but Ormond, what are you doing? What spells do you have left? We will come back to these cultists last, because they're basically, we're just trying to pull off their cultist ritual, and we are disrupting them. So Ormond, I have a spell. Milo has a spell I may try to use. It's a weird foam thing that I'm going to have, but let me see what we have here. For my turn, I can use a spell. The spell is summons twisted, decayed trees that can serve as a barrier or a trap. Left trapped for long enough, the captive develops a bad condition. On the 3, and also maybe the 4 that are knocked down. Got it. So you are summoning a twisted, decayed trees. Got it. So you have put out this spell, and these trees, I imagine them bursting up from underneath the cavern and just kind of climbing up and out of the stone. All right, I love it. They're decayed trees. They can serve as a barrier or a trap. Great. So we can maybe even, your spell might be preventing the other subalterns from getting to their priest.
I would see the ones that have been knocked down by Petricula as the ones who would be most vulnerable to an entanglement spell like that.
Got it. Perfect. All right.
Neverfear and I are on exactly the same page.
Perfect. Yep. On the 3, and also maybe the 4 that are knocked down. Perfect. So let's see. We've always got to see, does the spell go off as planned? And it is an intelligence roll, and never fear. Let me look at Ormond. His intelligence is 2. You're going to have a +2 on this. So first, let's see. And again, nobody is even affecting or coming at us. So I think this +5 that we continue to get because of their distraction and because Petricula is in the midst of them. Now, part of this tree, it will affect Petricula's ability to be rolling around and attacking as well, but that's fine. We'll come back to what his adjustments are. So let's see, what do we got here? Given that they're not focusing, keeping the portal open, does it start shrinking? Yes, and I think the shrink would give us another round as well. Let's stay with +2, that's your intelligence, and 5 on this roll, yes. So a total of +7. You've got to get an 11 to pull this off, and then we're going to see kind of what the strength of that is with a 6-sided die roll. So first, see, do you get it pulled off? Are you able to get to the threshold of an 11? Woo, closer than I thought. I'm imagining you've added in your bonuses. So your bonuses are in. You've pulled it off. We've got to see the strength of it. So these decayed trees start popping out of this stone floor. Give me a 6-sided die roll. We know the 4 that have been knocked to the ground. I agree with Jay, and they're going, okay, good. It was added, so it's successful. The 4 on the ground have already been separated. They were bowled over. It's going to first affect them. If you get, oh, look at this. You continue to roll phenomenal with these 6-sided die rolls. So we've got, not only are the 4 that were knocked down completely entangled, I think some of the limbs are grabbing onto them. The 4 that are knocked down are just completely caught up in this spell. And 2 more. So we only had 3 that were trying to get to the priest, but 2 more of them are entangled. It can't get to the high priest, which the cougar has pinned. And what we immediately start to hear is this high-pitched, squealing scream coming from the center of that demonic hole. It's that succubus that is feeling that tension, that ratcheting down. This portal to hell is beginning to collapse. We have completely disrupted this spell. It is beginning to fail. It's ratcheting in the succubus. The scream is so bad that if we have any kind of verbal types to communicate, that's shot. While this screaming is going on, we are not able to communicate. So luckily, we really haven't been having to communicate anything. But if we end up having to use some kind of communication, we won't be able to while the screaming is occurring. It is just completely mind-piercing. It's devastating. So let's see what we got here. And then we're going to come to Milo. I got all the cultists in the trees. Almost. All but 1. So you have the 4 that were bowled over by Petrocula. They're completely entangled. They're stuck on their backs. They can't get up. The 2 that were rushing to try to help their high priest from the cougar are also stuck. 1, which we will roll for, is the high priest, and this 1 guy are going to try to attack our undead cougar here in a second to get free. Milo has a spell that I don't even know. We may hold it now, because the one I have that could do something is Rendello's Persuading Foam. It's really the last one I have that could be helpful in this spot. And my idea was that the spell puts out a foam, and anybody it covers is open to being persuaded to, I was thinking, stop this procedure, maybe to turn on each other. I think, yes. Yeah, I could just instill the panic. I think at this point in time, I'm going to hold this spell. I think if I were to spray it in now, I could get it on the cougar. I could get it on Petrocula. I think there could be some splash effect from this thing. But because of this, I almost feel like I want to get closer so that I don't have this. You know, if I can get close enough and I have to put this spell off, I think it needs to be a little more precise so I don't end up. Milo shoots himself in the foot. I think he could shoot this group in the foot with this spell. So I want to do something that's crazy for Milo. I think I'm going to just climb down this area that we're on, and I'm going to use my second action. That's a move action to climb down, and my second action to try to move closer, at the very least, to the cougar, to Petrocula, so that if I have to use this spell, I can. Maybe if the succubus somehow does come through, could this foam even work on the succubus? Maybe. I hope, and it looks like we're not going to get to that problem. But Milo is not the most fleet of foot. We do have some flaming cultists that are still running around. Milo's dexterity is 1. First on the climb down. I think we know there's folks climbing up, so there must be some ledges. I want to see, can he just climb down? We got a +1. I don't think it's overly difficult. I'm not scaling up. I'm crawling down, but I'm going to have to get an 11, 20-sided die. I got a 16, taking me up to 17. We have success. I think my next move is to move closer, but I've got to roll, and I'll probably have Never Fear roll. Never Fear, I need a roll, and maybe we even do it underneath the fate chart. There's chaos, but why don't you give me a 50-50? Do one of these, I'm moving down from our protected elevated area. There's got to be a chance of a cultist, one of the panicked guys, not the subalterns, not the high priestess, but we've got cultists running around on fire, other ones that have been damaged. Give me a percentile die roll, Never Fear. I want to make it a simple 50-50. Does one of these cultists, attack or grab onto Milo, either while he's crawling down or trying to move closer to this portal to hell? So I think that's way in the possibility, but we'll let the dice go on to 50-50. And we're waiting on Never Fear. I'll give him a little bit just in case he stepped away. I could end up rolling the percentiles, but we will wait. So again, the picture is Milo has climbed down. We know Grave Worm is still up there defending, but he's defending Battery. He's defending Ormond. I'm going to go ahead and roll. Might be that Never Fear, there's either some lag or maybe you stepped away. So I have percentile die rolls. It's a question to Mythic, the Mythic emulator. 50 or less is yes, that I've got a cultist that's going to, 92. Not only is it a no, but I think
it's a heck no.
It's a heck no. 91 or higher means not only internet on my dad. Oh, got it. No problem. No problem. I was calling for a roll, but I've rolled and it's worked out very well for us. So not only have no cultists grabbed Milo, it tells me that maybe they're so decimated even by this screeching that's coming through that the cultists, even these little peons that were damaged, I think they're being affected by this noise as well. So that screaming from the succubus has caused even these random cultists to be kind of combat ineffective. So real quick, Never Fear. On Milo's turn, Milo decided he's got this foam, this persuading foam, but he felt like if he cast the spell from here, that foam might end up catching Petricula. It might grab the cougar. It's kind of a splash area foam, and it's something that he wanted to get closer to. If he has to use it, it needs to be a little more precise. And he might be able to use it on the succubus if she does possibly come through. We don't know. That would be pretty low possibility. She is a demonic character. So he decided to climb off the ledge. He succeeded in the dexterity of doing that, and he's literally moving towards the portal to hell. But I thought maybe a cultist, might grab him or attack him with one of his daggers. We got a heck no. So the succubus is screaming. We can't communicate, but these cultists are being affected by it as well. So the cultists that were running around are combat ineffective. I don't think we need to worry about them. There's no way they're climbing this ledge to get to Battery or to get to Grave Worm or Ormond. So that worked in our favor. And Milo has successfully moved closer to the action. I think he's near these trees that have these guys entangled, and he's so terrified of that cougar that Battery has that he can't quite bring himself to get close to that cougar, but he's watching. He can't tear his eyes away from the cougar attacking the priest, and he almost sees himself in that role because there's a fear check that he's going to have to do on his next roll if he's required to try to move closer to where that cougar is. He keeps his distance a little bit. That cougar's terrifying. Ormond. Ormond did his spell. We've got Jay's Battery's done. We've got Grave Worm. We know nobody's crawling up. Well, Jay, why don't you crawl into Grave Worm's head a little bit? Grave Worm can see that the cultists are in disarray. We can't communicate due to the screeching from the succubus. Grave Worm's this great recon being, looks like a little kid. what do you think Grave Worm would do at this situation? It looks like his defensive dagger stabs are no longer needed.
I think Grave Worm is going to come down and watch your back.
Got it. All right. Let me do a roll for you, or for Grave Worm. We know he's extremely dexterous. He's our recon lead. He knows the area. +3. He has to scale down. We know Milo did it, so it shouldn't be difficult. Oh, 16 plus. That's fine. He just boom, boom, boom. Yeah, comes on down. We know the cultists aren't a problem at all. We know he's got his stone cutting dagger. And he quietly just moves right up near Milo. And I think he's kind of got Milo's back. Just in case something changes, he's got Milo's back and he's ready to defend from that position. Perfect. Silently done. All right. Is there anything, Never Fear or Jay, that we still need to resolve? I think we've handled everybody, but we got to do the cultist turn. Is there anything else?
Battery was controlling the cougar, but he also was going to take a shot if there was one. But the situation's kind of chaotic. He may not have even had a shot.
Perfect. I love your idea, though. We do know that the bowling knocked the 4 down. We know that the trees have grabbed 2. We know that his cougar is on the high priest. We have that one guy that hasn't been grabbed by the trees that was moving towards the cougar. You know, it's Battre's cougar. I do think your focus would be on, oh, hell no. You know, you're not coming in on my cougar.
Yep.
So are you taking an arrow shot? Tell me what you're doing on that guy.
I'm going to take the shot. I want to put it, if he's moving on the cougar, I want dead center mass right in the middle of his back.
Love it. What is your, again, it's wisdom. So let me go look at.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah, you've got a 3.
Wisdom of 3, yeah.
Yes. All right. And we know the whole +5 thing is still in play because that cultist, even though this spell's been broken and that shrinking of this portal to hell and the screeching is happening, you're getting a +5 on this shot. I think you're looking right at the back of that cultist. So 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to roll this up. You know what? Never Fear, if you're in, roll me a 20-sided die for Jay and Battery. We'll keep Never Fear involved here. And I like when you guys roll, and my rolls have been terrible lately too. Terrible. So Never Fear, if you're in. I know he could be having some internet problems still, but we're going to hold for a second and see if we get a 20-sided die roll. 5, 6, 7, 8, a +8 to this roll. There it is. What do we got? 9 without adding anything. Got it. So that's going to take us up to 17 with the bonuses. All right. So you've got a solid hit on this guy. And trying to remember, in order, these guys had no armor. So we were looking at their starting armor class is an 11, and they have no armor on them. So what you're taking is that damage above that. And from my notes before, the cultists, I think that might have been 3 back, but I think we only had them with a very low hit point rate. So at the very least, why don't you describe, you have flat out put that between the shoulder blades of this last subaltern. Why don't you tell me if you've got a vision of what that last arrow does to this guy?
Yeah. Never Fear is asking who's he hitting. This is one of those elite cultists who is going after my cougar. And so I put an arrow. I want to see the arrowhead come straight out of the front of his chest.
Got it.
So and if possible, I want to have either gone through a lung or the heart.
Okay, there we go. I think with this, the hit point bleed over was definitely there, that this guy is out. Let me just see. Is this something? Why don't we just roll odd, even? Odd is going to be the lung. Even will be the heart. 6. So
Awesome.
even as the heart, yes, that arrow right through the center, maybe center left of his back, and just you see him arch and just and out it comes, and he pitches down. And I think the last thing we need to do is whatever the maul damage from your cougar is on this high priest. So damage wise, never fear. What's he got on a comment? Sharpshooter, yes. Just to keep things rolling. I want to see what the maul damage is. We already know that the cougar's taken the high priest down. We were talking that they have a health of 4. I'm going to roll that this is past the armor class already. Simply how much damage is the cougar doing? Woo, we got a 6 on the roll.
Awesome.
Yeah, so what's very interesting here is the cougar must have gotten like in on that throat. And this is a fairly old cultist, and it just proceeds to shred him. I think claws, jaws, and this high priest is.
Don't forget the rear claw rake.
Oh yeah, I think it's a fur ball of. I think it's so bad that Milo loses bladder control just seeing. Right. For those that don't know,
that's awesome.
Yeah, Milo is petrified and he can't tear his eyes away from this cougar destruction. And he's just like, oh, and Milo, I believe, luckily, we won't need him probably. He's kind of become, I think he slumps down into a seated position, just seeing what Battery's cougar does to this high priest.
Talk about being re-traumatized.
By his own creation. Yeah. His fear, we've got it in Milo's notes that kittens cause an intense phobic fear for Milo. So him witnessing this rendering is horrible. The good thing for us is the cultists it's their turn. I think we'll check on the 4 that are encumbered and trying to stand up, and the 2 that we're trying to help. But with the high priest being rendered, there is a sudden snapping, closing, pop, and this portal to hell is closed, and the screaming has ceased.
I see a morale check. I think they're either there's one of 2 options. They're either gonna bolt and run, or they're gonna decide that they're gonna kill us. I think we're looking at suicide.
So the question is, are they so fanatical that now they're just blindly going to attack us, and they're encumbered by these trees. So that's perfect. A morale check. Let's go to Mythic. I think the brutal rendering of the high priest, which even affected Milo in our own party, the sudden snapping closed of this portal. Yeah, what's the morale rating? Well, that's what we're going to figure out right now. I think to break their morale, I would say we're at an 80% right now that these guys are done. Let me see what Never Fear has. Knave 2 has rules for that. All right. I like using Mythic, but let's take the time. Now, what's weird is I've got to admit, let me see if I can't find it quickly because we are rolling live. If they don't have a good enough index that I can find the morale check quickly, never fear, unless you have it quickly at hand. To keep the game rolling, I will use the Mythic rules because we're using both sets to resolve this. All right, I'm looking at the contents, see if it gives me, it does not. All right, never fear. I'm sure I could find it, but we do not have the time. So if you know it and you have it handy, we will use it. Otherwise, it's going to be a Mythic percentile roll of an 80% chance, and that's probably being friendly to this. I almost think it would be higher. Hold on. Roll 2d6 equal to or less than their morale. All right. Well, the question is, how do they determine the morale for them in Knave? So these guys are encumbered or entangled. Sorry, they're entangled. They've seen their priest go. They will pass their morale check. I've got it, but what I'm asking is, because I don't have time to look up the rule set, is their morale, wisdom, and intelligence combined? What is it? And if you've got that answer handy, I will roll the 2d6. But these guys, let me see. A bandit has a morale of 8.
So I see these guys as being fanatic. So they'd have a high morale, but I think their local conditions have given them a significant minus.
I would agree.
And my intuition would be they've got a higher chance of breaking than going jihadi.
Perfect. Got it. So never fear. I think we've got to adjust their morale down. I think if a bandit had a morale of 8, I think these guys, had they had their high priest, I think their morale would be really up around like an 11. But
yeah,
I think seeing that high priest rendered, destroyed the way he was, the collapse of this portal to hell, I think their morale's got to be down to like 4. And if we're doing a morale check, we're trying to see, they have to be below it, right, in order to succeed? Again, never fear, I'm leaning. I would prefer to use Mythic here, but if you have the Knave rules up, because without me being able to read this real quick, I wouldn't be able to pull it off. Half the value then. If you're saying it's a 2d6, and why don't you roll for it? I'm going to be honest, I would use Mythic here because I could quickly state that I think they would be at an 80 to a 90% equal or below. I have it open. All right. We've adjusted. I have the rules open. All right. I do not know what we're moving around this area.
A 7, they break.
Okay, got it. All right, so their morale does not hold. Got it. So we know they're all entangled, but obviously we can see from their faces that it is terror. It's already a rules light game. Oh, I know it's rules light. My point is, when we're in mid-action, I love to use Mythic because I can really quickly figure out, hey, what are the percentages, rather than going and trying to look up a specific rule set. If we were sitting at the table casually, I have no problem with that. And if you had it open, that's why we used it. So it's already a rule. Yeah, good. So back into the image. The portal's collapsed. We can hear ourselves. I think we hear some screaming. There's still some burning torches. I think we've got some clumps of, let's just say, cloaks that are on fire in different areas. So basically we have cultists that have expired. They've been immolated. They've burned. So we still have light in the area. There's still some torches, but we've got a couple cultist torches burning as well. These guys that are entangled, I've got a list of 4, 5, 6. 6 of them are still entangled by Ormond's last spell. They're terrified. There's no fight left in them. I am a little bit curious how Petrocula is going to treat them, maybe even the Cougar. Ormond, we'll have to see. Let's start with, we're on our next phase. The cultists got no turn. The portal is closed. Milo is sitting there in his own urine, and he's combat ineffective. I think Milo is basically almost like these cultists. He's got a bit of a mental break. The Cougar rendering has him terrified, and someone else is going to have to snap him out. Maybe it'll be Grave Worm. maybe he'll do it. My spell also has a negative effect on those that are tangled. Tell me what further effect, because that is those 6 that are already broken mentally. They will flee, they will surrender. What is the further effect? I'm looking up in the chain here to see what it is. Your spell was way up here. Left trapped for long enough, the captive develops a bad condition. Got it.
I see it as rotting dead devil's club.
Ooh, got it. All right, so they're wherever they're entangled, their skin is kind of like rotting a little bit from that.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. All right, so they are not only entangled, they're mentally defeated, and it's slowly like one hit point around still is just seeping off of them from this entanglement. Got it. All right, Milo is ineffective. Who wants to take Batre? Why don't we come to you, since you're running both the Cougar and Batre? You've just had the beautiful shot. What does Batre or the Cougar do at this point in time?
So the Cougar is going to stand over the high priest just to make sure that there isn't some last effect. Okay. And Batre's just going to hold, because if these cultists will surrender and renounce their ways, he would let them live. But I also think that Petricula, because these are cultists who are against his basic function, he's going to kill them all.
I would agree. All right. So Batre, I imagine you're notched and you're looking for threats, but you're not seeing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you just explained is he's got no hate towards these entangled cultists. He's just almost I'm picturing like Overwatch in case something were to pop up. Okay, got it. So he, remind me if something crazy pops up, he's got an Overwatch where he could pull cover for us. I love it. Coming to Never Fear, I would like to see if there's anything on these cultists that can be clues towards becoming a lich, which is Ormon's goal. I could roll for the effect. Absolutely. So, explain to me how you are doing that. I know you're going to text that in. And then I'm imagining, let me look at your character sheet. So intelligence 2, charisma's 1. Let's see what you've got. No, Batre does not kill the cultist. He's got no anger or personal animosity towards them. He does have an arrow notched, and he's ready in an Overwatch position. If somebody, suddenly tries to do a stone cutter slice or whatever, he's ready to let that arrow fly, but he's not in like a hated killer mode. Petricula, on the other hand, we will come to. But I'm just searching their corpses, especially the chief. Okay, so you're searching their bodies. It's not like you're questioning the survivors themselves. If you're going to get to the chief cultist, you're going to have to do the same thing Milo did. You're going to be climbing down. That was not difficult. You're going to have your dexterity. So the first thing is on your move down off of this elevated position. Ormond, you have a dexterity of 1, and we already know it was a +5 because you're climbing down, and we knew these other cultists were climbing up. So you're going to have a +6 to a 20-sided die roll just to make sure you don't fall as you're climbing down. So Never Fear, give me a 20-sided die roll with a +6 to see if your first move makes it down. And then because you're going towards the cultist who still has a cougar sitting on what's left of his chest, your second move will be you can use, instead of an attack or a magic, you can move again. 20, not natural. Got it. Had you hit 21, even with the augmentation, you would have had a special maneuver, but that's good. You've successfully climbed down the ledge from the vantage point that everybody sees with the portal that's closed. You've now cautiously moved right up to this head priest. You can see what's left of him. I think you've walked by Milo, who's basically seated on the ground, murmuring to himself. Grave Worm is still kind of pulling rear security, keeping Milo relatively safe, although it seems like the will of the cultists are broken. And Ormond, you've approached this head priest. Your next turn, you'll either have to wait for the cougar to probably move off, or you're going to have to negotiate with said cougar to get in there and search the high priest and what's left of his cloak. Got it. Are we not out of combat? So Knave, it's not like you're in combat, out of combat. We are still in a heightened sense of danger. Trust me, we're not out of danger. The cultists are broken. We know that many have fled. We know other ones are burning as human torches, laying in this cavern in different places. And we know that you've got 6 of them entangled in your spell. Do I think we're safe? I do not. So there's still many dangers afoot. We can't forget, which I kind of did, the diamond that Milo has in his pocket is still screeching and drawing attention. There were tremors, but that's something to probably deal with as we exit. So, Ormond, or never fear, you've approached and you may search this high priest on your next turn. We're coming back to Grave Worm is just pulling security as well. I like it. He's got his stone cutter. We've got to come to Petricula. I do believe, and I am going to use Mythic, and I think that it's a 90% chance that the 1 foot tall stone golem, who we already know is 0 love for these cultists, I don't think he stands down. So
No.
Yeah, 90 or less is that he just starts ripping these entangled cultists apart. But it could be a 91 or higher. What do I got? 60 even. We know that Petricula can take 3 out. He literally, I don't want to get too graphic, I think he comes over and he starts separating heads from torsos. Just pop, pop, pop. These guys that are entangled. That leaves 1 entangled that's still alive, completely pacified, but he's entangled and taking damage. I'll tell Battery, says Ormond, the cultist is dead. Have your cougar step away from the corpse. We might have clues to what these guys are up to. Great, I can see he's over by your cougar. I think he's yelling back to Battery, have your cougar stand down. So when we come back on the next round, or we probably won't even have a round, we're going to just roll over to Battery because Ormond has left only 1 of them alive. I think on his next turn, he'll probably work on extinguishing that one as well. So let's move to Battery. Jay, you've got this call from Ormond. Are you able to gain control, or maybe you already have control of your cougar? So
I see the control is really tied to the efficacy of the tattoo that I've got. And that's the basis of the link. I think I've got great control of the cougar right now, but we're going to have to touch up the tattoo periodically. I'm going to tell the cougar to decapitate the corpse of the high priest and then step away.
Got it. And I thought on that exact thing too. I think maybe as we move from session to session, there is a percentile die roll with, maybe it's early on, it's like a 1% chance that the tattoo begins to completely fail, which would mean there would have to be, some more magical touch up from Milo. Remind me of that before the end of this session, because maybe it's a 1 or 2% chance that the tattoo starts to degrade. I think we got to have the degradation as part of it. But yeah, it's so new and fresh. Got it. So this prostate dead priest, high priest, can't defend himself. He's gone. I think the cougar, much to Milo's continued catatonic state, Milo in his seated position can't look away from the horror as this cougar also separates head from torso, and I think kind of does that dog cat thing where they fling it. And I think a little bit of like a high pitched comes from Milo. Milo, it may need to be thrown on the back of somebody in order to get him out of here. All right. I think Milo is in a state of brokenness at this point in time. Get it together, Milo. Milo can't hear or see anything but the
I see him just huddled and rocking back and forth with staring at this horrible sight.
Yeah, I think he's definitely into this just like rocking mode. Yeah, he is combat or probably even walking ineffective at this point in time. The good thing is the cougar, after separating, I think he's even pawing around this head as a cat would, and kind of wandering away from the main torso, which Ormond, it leaves you open to go ahead and search the pockets. Let me know if you want to do some kind of roll within your character sheet, or if you would like to leave it up to the fate chart to find, what are the percentages that you find something that will help you with your movement towards becoming a lich. Let me know how you want to do this. I'm sure if anybody has, scrolls or whatever, it would be this lead cultist. So you're in the right area. Well, let me know how I'm asking you, do you want me, because it's your character, do you want me to do a mythic roll to see what are the odds of you finding something? And then we can even go back here for action subject. Or did you have something else in mind? Okay, using this. Good. I think it's a near sure thing. 90% that this high priest has some scrolls that are on him. Clearly, he's doing, this was a demonic ritual that opened a portal to hell to bring in the succubus of Veslilith, who was prevented and screeched. 90%, I will roll for you, and let's see. 59, that is a solid yes. We come to the back and let's see what you have found. 57 is create. This could be interesting for you on your hunt to be a lich. Create. 34 is expectations. Create expectations. Well, that tells me you have found a scroll that definitely looks to be part of this demonic ritual. But I think the high priest has highlighted only one small part that seems to be the ritual of opening this portal to hell. And there's a lot of other information in this scroll that I think you can't read it automatically, but I think you might be able to learn many of the things you're looking for if you can find folks, or maybe you do have the ability to translate this. I don't know all of Ormond's secrets, but you have plenty of things to study off of this scroll. It's clearly of an evil nature. It's clearly been highlighted. This high priest has worked out, the particular parts that are going to open this call to Veslilith. So there are things for you to discover from this scroll. Put it in your sheet, and you're going to have to let me know in the future as you are working towards the secrets that are ensconced in this scroll, these demonic rituals. This is some kind of ritual-based, rule set or whatever it is. All right, so we've got Ormond's good, Batray's good, the Cougar's good, Milo is not good, and I think we have Petricula. There's no doubt. Well, let's roll. I think 95% chance he moves over to the very last surviving entangled subaltern priest. I have a 19. Yes, we're doing a lot of head removal. So once again, yeah, the cougar is, Petricula is. There are no threats left. I think what we are still dealing with is the diamond that Milo has is making that high-pitched squeal. And I think now that there's a chance for us to note there's still some slight tremors in this cavern caused by the diamond of Zanuptra. I get rid of my acid and replace it with the scroll. Got it. All right, so your acid, I picture you pouring it over this high priest and just dissolving him. I don't know why. Here's Teresa Tatum. Maybe Ves Lilith caught a glimpse of the PCs while the portal was open. Future enemy. Love it. Absolutely. Make a note. Ves Lilith is not done with trying to come to this land. And now she has a particular bone to pick with our merry little band. We have prevented her near return to this realm, and I will add her in on the character list, which means, unless we're in something very specific like we were on this one last session, that if we end up with an NPC action, thus Lilith will be an NPC. So there's a strong possibility that she will find another way to enter into this realm. And if she does, she's got a bone to pick with our group.
Or I could even see her if she's got other minions, maybe hiring an assassin or sending other folks after us.
Got it. I'm making a note, and minions, and then I'm going to put problem. So I will work that in after this session. I will get it in on the notes. And so that if we have some random events, there could be some problems with the enemy that we have made. Yes, she was so close to being here. So close. In the scroll, is the scroll in an old language? It is, to the point that you can't read it yourself, unless, I'm not an expert on Ormond, but I think you're going to have to do some studies in order to figure out some more details. You probably could have gained some of that knowledge from the high priest, but his head's no longer attached to his body. A long dead language. Yes, I'll even put it as it's like a demonic ritual. So this would be something that in and of itself has a dark demonic connection. It would not be something that a normal person, it's not like you're just looking at Latin or Greek. This is some type of demonic language ritual type based. The scroll itself would probably be extremely valuable just for the evil knowledge it contains. All right, we're at 1 hour and 8 minutes. I do believe we can carry ourselves out of here and we can then end this as we exit, meaning let's do some tidying up here. Could be like an infernal tongue from Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I never played enough D&D as a kid, so I'm no expert on the D&D infernal tongue, but I think that would be a perfect fit. So as we sit here, Petricula finally looks around and takes stock. I think he was looking for any more cultists that were alive. He sees none. I think Grave Worm says kind of to Petricula, are you okay with us exiting now? Petricula kind of walks over to Milo because he kind of made a friendship with him when he sat on his shoulder. And I think he's just kind of nudging Milo a little bit. And I believe before we move to the next phase, before we close, how much gold from the loot are we getting? So that's a good point. We talked about being down here and that there would be some things that these cultists would have left behind. I think we could pickpocket or search these bodies. And why don't you give me a roll? Oh, yeah, I know. XP and Knave. In order to gain XP, you have to have coin. There's a strong push that coin raises your XP. I know we have the Diamond of Zanuptra, but that is also a vessel for this ghost that we will be moving for in the next round. You know what? Never fear. Let me work on that. That will be what we will open with in the next session. That'll allow me to figure out. I'm sure there are some things we could find, relics that are in here that we could sell off. So let's pause on that. Yes, I think Batray, Ormond, Grave Worm, there is the, you might be picking relics up off the ground that are valuable. There may be valuable things. So yes, we will have those. I want to work the exit. Somebody let me know, how are you getting Milo out of here? The Petrocula is strong, but he's so short, he can't just pick Milo up and carry him. Somebody is going to have to either break through Milo's terror or literally pick him up and fireman carry him out.
So Batray is going to find the cleanest robe from these dead cultists.
Got it.
And help Milo get changed. Okay. And if he'll talk to him gently, it's very tempting to have the cougar carry the head over to him, but I'm gonna refrain.
Perfect.
And instead, I'll use either water or even a little wine to help get him cleaned up. Okay. And I'll fireman carry him out because he's part of the party.
Got it. All right. And I think using this, I don't think there's any doubt that the care taken with Milo, I love the idea. Of course, Batray has a little wine skin, and he's able to kind of dribble some into Milo's mouth, and just to probably even use, a sleeve from another cultist, maybe it wasn't in as good a shape, and wipe him down a little bit and kind of get this new robe on him. And it's quite funny that he's now got one of these cultist robes on him. I think the cougar eyeballs him a little bit with that cultist robe on.
Yeah.
But I think the quick check is, I love that you could shoulder him, but why don't I roll for you? I just want to see a simple 11. And with all this care you've taken, I think we can even add a 5 to it, almost like it's a charisma. I don't know what Batray's charisma is. 0.
0. Yeah.
But let me see. Oh, yeah, 13 plus the 5. I don't think you end up having to carry him out, but I think you're having to hold his shoulder or maybe even his hand as you're just leading him out. But he's able to walk, but he's still almost like catatonic, where he is definitely still mentally traumatized.
If he can walk, I want him to put both hands on my shoulders so my arms are free.
Got it.
And that's how we're going out.
He's behind you, almost like, when you're a kid and you're playing the train or whatever, and he's just holding onto your shoulders, which is perfect. It leaves you free to still work your bow if necessary. Love it. Okay, so what we will do is, Grave Worm's like, let's go. And he starts, he knows how to get us out. Petrocula, who's down to just 11 HP, took no more damage, which is amazing. He is bounding with us. Ormond is also coming with us. And maybe Batray's been smart and has the cougar as tail end Charlie. So 1, Milo can't see him. And 2, that cougar's just checking our 6. So I want to just do a mythic roll just for a scene check, which is all we're going to do is climb out of here. Chaos factor, I think it had gotten crazy as we got down there pretty deep. I think with the collapse of this, I think we're probably still at like a chaos of 6 or 7. Let me just go 7. So if we roll 7 or less, there will be one last thing that happens, a 2. So we have a 2, which means, get the sheet, we will have an interrupt. Something is going to interrupt us as we're leaving. Now, again, logically, this could be cultist. This could still be the ceiling with pieces falling. This could be something else. Jay or Never Fear or Teresa or anybody that's in here watching, does anybody have an idea of what this interruption could be?
I don't mean to monopolize, but I would see that that our succubus has made mental contact with the most competent, maybe the second in command cultist, and they are going to try and kill us on our way out.
Got it. Okay, so we've got that, and this is fine. It won't be anybody else with an idea, because we can always roll and see which one. Never Fear if you've got an idea. Anybody in the chat? Any idea? We'll wait a little bit, and so we have one that there is like a, as we're working our way up the tunnel, you could clearly have a cultist that had gotten themselves, further up on their way out, but at the, they've got a mental connection, or they were told, the succubus was like, get them or something like that. We already had a cultist, and the cave itself is a threat. Yes, that's why I included that. We knew those were threats. This would be one that had a message that was to come after us directly rather than flee. Maybe it's something else. All right, throw me something else and we will do a simple die roll. I love having options. So I think all of the craziness that was going on and everything fleeing.
Could anything have gotten through the portal? Maybe not the not the succubus, but maybe some sort of lesser demon.
I love it. Now, anyone in here, what would be like a minion for a succubus? I was always, my youth, it wasn't D&D, it was Twilight 2000 Apocalypse. So what would be like a little sub-demon that definitely could have popped through that we might have to deal with here? That would be our opening scene, by the way, as we come back. I love that idea. Let me do a percentile. 50-50. Matter of fact, let's make it 60 or less as a yes, 30 even. So there is some type, we don't need to know what it is right now. We'll let that percolate. A little sub-demon, some kind of little demon or a support being for the succubus had come through the portal, had come in and gotten through in some form or fashion. And it lays in wait maybe as we're gathering up, and Milo and all that. We spent a little bit of time in there kind of getting Milo changed and getting things set. Here's Teresa, a pet imp. I love it. A pet imp of Ves Lilith. All right, we've got an imp. Perfect. All right, I love that. That will be it. We are going to do scene. When we return, we are going to have a little imp that is going to come in and come at the group, and we will figure out how that works and in what fashion it will come at us. I will also have, my goal is what are some of the relics or items that we have liberated that would be worth coin down here. And that is fine. I will come up with that as well. Anything else before we close? Jay, anything?
No, except I see that my ranger is going to have a really interesting torn relationship with our necromancer or our lich to be. He's kind of against that goal, but on the other hand, he'd like to have a Kukalich.
Ah, very cool. All right, Kukalich. Perfect. All right. Anything, Teresa, or anybody left in the room, or Never Fear? anything? We've got some things for me to work on before our next session in 2 weeks. I love that the imp is going to be impeding our exit in some way. Never fear, as the group couldn't catch a break. Kind of. You know what? What was interesting was I thought the succubus was going to come through. The spells and the things that slowed that down was amazing. Battery wouldn't know about Ormond's goal. Good point. That's a good point.
Yep.
He hasn't mentioned it to anybody. Good. So we know as players, but the PCs wouldn't know. I do like the idea that Battery's got a very good eye and he's very wise to the world. So he may catch sight of this demonic scroll that you pocketed at some point in time, which may lead him to be cautious of Ormond. Good. Let's call the scene right here. We will be back in 2 weeks. We will be still working our way from the depths of this cavern to get out of this deep, dark area, but we have a person in Grave Worm that can get us out. But we will be dealing with an imp, and we will have collected some valuable relics. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jay. Never fear, Teresa. Another awesome session. We will shut her down now. All right. Again, thank